you guys here. I am in the process of changing some things up on our webinars here with some technology. I need to hit go live here. Perfect. Sweet. We are going live on our Instagram feed. So if you're on there, stoked to have you on. If you're on Facebook or YouTube, stoked to have you there too. We are talking about optimizing infant development. As I always say, one of my favorite topics. I love this one because I have 2 children of my own, and it's something we do every day in the office. I'm in the thick of it with my son. He is almost 16 months. We are on the optimal train. So many of you who are tuning in to this as well. So what to get from today? You're most likely going to hear things that you've never heard before. You might have heard them if you tuned into some lives before, but we're going to elaborate on some things that we've talked about. This is for essentially the first 18 months of life. I'll probably give you more stuff that you can do on top of that, beyond that. And we want you to make sure that your kid's nervous system is optimal pre-day one, prior to conception, during pregnancy, at birth, and then into infancy. And we're going to talk about that infant time and how to optimize their development, because we want your kids to be little superhumans. We call them superhuman Chiro kids at our office. We want your kids to be functioning and optimal and reach their full potential in life. Super amazing when you get to witness your kids reach their full potential. It is awesome. So a big piece of this, you might have to throw out some of the things that you've learned before from society, culture, your friends, your pediatrician, because Western medicine does not do a proper job at tracking infant development. They tell families a lot of times that your kid's going to grow out of it, even though they won't. It won't. It'll morph into something else. So they're going to tell your kids now that crawling is not a developmental milestone, but from neurobiology, the development of your child's brain, it is so vitally crucial that your kid crawls. It is crazy how crucial it is. And the fact that they've taken that off of the infant development, in my opinion, should yank a lot of credibility from them. And it's actually really harmful for children's brains not to crawl. So you're going to hear things that you haven't heard before, and you might have to flush some of the things that you've heard before, but I'm sorry, you're just going to have to step into a new way of things. And most likely parents who are listening to this anyways are walking an alternative path than what Western medicine or the rest of the world tells you. But if you're just dipping your toe in what's things natural, just know that this is all research, neurological based, and things that you implement, you will see where the results from. Biggest thing in our world, if I'm telling you to implement something and you're not seeing results, we need to chat about that. Or I'm going to tell you to implement something, you need to see results. Implementing things, results, we are results driven. The things that you implement in your life should receive results. Okay. So hard thing is when you walk this path too, is that we have to we can't hit the easy button. We have to do things ourselves. We have to figure out things ourselves where you're like, man, I'm not a pediatrician. I'm not a healthcare provider. It's going to take me so long to figure out all this. Yes, it's going to take you long. You don't have to know the neurological intricacies of all of this. That's fine. Just know what looks normal, what doesn't look normal, and we'll tell you all that. So proper development. From day number 1, your child should make soul gazing eye contact. They should look into your eyes and gaze into your soul. Okay. They should be decently good at holding up their head, even around birth or within the first month. They should be decently good at it. They should be able to flop if they're on their belly, on your chest. They should be able to turn their head from side to side, flop their head on your body. And then as they move through and they get around that 8 weeks, 2 months to 3 months age, they should be interacting with you. They should be cooing with you. They should start smiling. They should start tracking people in your family around the room. They should look for you. They should be aware of what's going on in their world. And that means that their brain's properly working. And then ideally by 4 months, they should pull to sit. So when you have them on their back, you're changing their diaper, you grab onto their hands and you slowly pull them up to a sitting position. They should engage their neck. Okay. They should engage it and bring it to their chest versus just flopping it back like this. Flopping it back, if they're still not pulling their neck up by 6 months, that is not a good thing. Okay. That means that their tone of their body, the tension on how their brain talks to their body isn't acting up. They're not inactivating their core. Something neurologically isn't going on. And that needs to get addressed. That can get addressed in our office, that can get addressed in other chiropractic office, but it needs to be in our world in a pediatric chiropractic office. That's the foundation. You can add OT, you can add PT, you can add all that stuff on top, but the basis needs to be chiropractic. Why? Brain-body connection balances out the brain. Make sure that your child is functioning and their foundation is neurology. So this optimizing infant development, yes, you can do this without chiropractic. However, you're not going to see the rocket boosters behind it unless you have that foundation of neurological balance from consistently neurologically focused chiropractic care in the pediatric world. So when they're developing, when they're moving through, so we talked about that pull to sit. Then the next thing is the rolling. They need to roll between that 4 and 6 months. If they're getting stuck with things like rolling, they're rolling one way, they're not rolling the other way, it's really important for you to help them. If you know the proper rolling position, if you don't, watch a simple YouTube video of somebody explaining it, of what the proper rolling looks like, and help your child roll the other way. And then the next is crawling. Stay attuned to how your child is crawling. Are they cross crawling? Are they right arm, left leg, left arm, right leg, crawling on their knees, not doing like a weird swing out thing? Weird swing out thing can happen a lot of times these days. Number one, because of the slick floors in our house. Slick floors are going to activate neurology in a way that they're not going to get the friction and traction that they need on their knees in order to crawl. So make sure that when they're starting to crawl, and a good amount of the crawling happens on a carpeted surface or a rug surface, something where they're not going to slip. And if you're like, man, I don't have any of that, then get those little grippers on their pants or the little sleeves that you can throw onto their knees when they're crawling. It's very helpful to get their brain in that proper crawling mechanism. All of these issues, again, neurologically, we can correct that with adjustments, and then you can reinforce with things like this, optimizing at home. Ideally, they crawl between 7 to 9 months. They are rocking and rolling that department, right arm, left arm, right leg, hands and knees, and just motoring around, picking their head up. They should be walking right around the first year of life, ideally a little bit before. If it's a little bit after, that's okay too. We don't want it to stretch super duper long. And if it does stretch super duper long, that needs to go corrected. So in this infant to brain process, how do you optimize? How do you not optimize? So here's one way to not optimize. Keep your kid on the back all the time. Keeping your kid on their back all the time flattens their occiput, the base of their back. It creates chronic interference to their central nervous system by malforming their cranium and then pushing their cervical spine, their neck, into a way that it's not supposed to. It should be forming like this. You should be creating a curve in your neck, but in reality, it's doing this and it's straightening out their cervical spine. So within that first year of life, as they're turning their head, as they're learning tummy time, as they're learning to crawl, they're pushing their head into extension. They're molding their cervical spine, creating in their neck, which when I say cervical spine, that means their neck spine is beginning to have that proper curve by molding joints. If there's improper development, improper function, they're always on their back. They're not going to be at that cervical curve that they need in order to create vital function. Okay. Within that first year of life, you are literally helping mold the bones of their neck and therefore help mold how their brain communicates with their body and their body back to their brain. So it's really important that we have proper development and then you can optimize that development on top of that. So with that being said, if you don't want your kids always on their back, okay, which we're going to mention the Safe to Sleep program, Back to Sleep program that the Western medicine pediatrician world operates in. That keeping your kids on the back, not good for the neurology. So they need to be on their belly. Okay, they need to be on their belly. And this is not me telling you to put your kid on your belly when they're sleeping, but I'm just saying in a lot of their life, they need to be on their belly. So it's tummy time, strapped to your chest with a carrier, sleeping on naps, contact naps, things of that nature. Really important for them to turn their head side to side. What that does, other than molding their neck spine, their cervical spine, is it's this lateral eye movement. So the eyes laterally, that means that their eyes are moving from side to side. Really important for activating the movement and coordination cerebellum and how it communicates cortex, which is the brain that we're speaking with right now. That lateral, their brain prepped and ready on a more optimal setting. Tummy time, putting them on the chest, them turning their head to the side is automatically going to encourage side to side. Important, but also you want to, when they get to that point of following human beings around, you can flip them outward, hold them and forth like this to get side to side, which causes them to push and then also sway back and forth to get them to look at the room. Really, really, really good stuff. Okay, so when we're at, most likely, if they are, you can still hold them out and sway them and soup out as you walk around the house to optimize their development. But when you're at the point of more rolling in time, obviously, because they need to be on their belly, and tummy time should be not in the passive thing where you're like, cool, timer, I'm going to put you on your belly. You want to put toys in front of them. Trouble getting to tummy time. Again, the reason they need to see a chiropractor consistently. And then put a little boppy underneath their arms, underneath their armpits to help them push themselves up. So another assistance thing that you can help them do. Push themselves up and play with in front of them. Get a sibling to come up in front of them to help them get into that backward head motion with a side-to-side motion, reaching for toys, looking around, examining siblings. If you have animals, they'll be watching the animals and all that. So that I've been asked before in practice, really digging in is that if we're really one-sided holding our kids, okay, I tend to be left-sided holding with my child, with my son and my daughter, and I've done a lot of that, okay? As of researching, as I dig into this neurology even more and continue my understanding and education and all of that, it's really important that we switch sides, okay? It might feel awkward. You know what? It's actually really good for optimizing your brain too. If you're going to change your child, you're not letting some more things left-handed, learn to brush your teeth left-handed, learn to get things out of the fridge left-handed. You can, it's going to opposite side. So this left hand is going to strengthen my right hemisphere. I have right issues because I'm heavily right-sided dominant in a lot of the things. So I've been excited here. So do that thing. It'll help yourself as well as your kid, because now your kid isn't just putting their body in one way and the other way. They're going to do it the other way. They're going to look this way too. So it's going to help their brain develop really sides when you're holding your kids. And don't, the time on the opposite side. That's going to help their brain stay in a balance. Developing, which is awesome. So now they're rolling around, getting, you can start this even when their diaper changed. You're going to take their right hand, put it to their left leg, and put it to their right leg. So ideally you do right hand center. That's going to prime their brain, both sides of their brains, get them primed and ready. So I would say you can start that as early as 2 months. It's going to help them establish that proper cross crawl mechanism as they approach that time. Also, when you're doing that, you can put them on their back. But when they're on their back, you're going to put your fingers into their feet and cause to you get their leg, essentially push their legs out. It's okay if you piss them off a little bit into your fingers into their feet. What doing is that's establishing an extensor chain. So their extensor chain is it causes extension, which is upright standing, which is that cause them to move in that direction of proper and optimizing development. So you want them to activate that extensor. The same thing happens with tummy time. The same thing happens with side-to-side swaying when they pull themselves to stand. It's all their brain trying to get them. There can be that, and as you're implementing, help you and your child get to that place where you want them. Got that. Perfect. Just look at my notes here. When they are at the point of getting close to walking, okay? Usually crawling and pulling to stand are comboed together. They pretty much do it around the same time. So when now you can start walking, locomoting, stand. Ideally, get them on their hands and get like walking up the their legs fully stretches them into extension, which optimizes their brain, gets their brain ready for walking. So get them on stairs. Another thing you can do is when they're upstairs too, make sure their form is good, correct their form if it's not, and get them crawling upstairs. Is that same thing. Extensor chain, parts of the brain working properly that we want to be. Okay. A lot of stuff to chew on. Gives you last thing is the back to sleep thing. Can't tell you what to do. It's called Safe to Sleep program, established in 1994, and is put your child on their back when they sleep. Okay. That's a hard one. It was implemented to counteract SIDS, sudden infant death syndrome. And the hard thing about it is that the research shows that belly sleeping is actually the proper way of sleeping. So I'm not going to tell you what to do. This is not Dr. David telling you what to do with sleeping. But just know that that's the way for sleep. Turning the head, molds their neck, gets them lateral eye movements, gets them ready. Doesn't flatten their oxymium. If you are, hey, that's something that I thought about too. Contact naps on your body, having the carriers in that way, and choose at nighttime. Totally up to you. Definitely keep your. But just know that can be quite a detriment to the development of the human being. So with that, you have a lot to digest. You have a lot to implement. Optimize your infant, because superhuman, Cairo, your kids, my kids, everybody's kids, because higher functioning humans, when their brain is so adaptable, changing it, you can implement things to help them function at a higher capacity, that you're going to reap the benefits of that for always. The foundation of neurology, consistent body-based or tonal approach with a more light touch approach. If your kids are getting slammed on chiropractors in a way that's not checking neurology, it's not on, we should probably see another chiropractor. So with that being said, start optimizing, keeping your kids getting consistently adjusted. Make sure that you are working your kids towards. Thank you for tuning in, and next time.